the Jazz, Utes, and Cougars is right here on the Zone. This is JJ and Alex, presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Welcome back. It is a Tuesday edition of JJ and Alex, 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone. Thanks for being with us. JJ, when was the last time we had a Rudy Tooty Fresh and Fruity from IHOP?
Don't think I've ever had one.
Could you think of something more overrated than something with an amazing name like that?
It didn't meet the moment.
Under delivers.
Yeah.
But I've noticed they've gotten away from marketing that.
I think they've gotten away, period.
Where
are they? There was an IHOP down my way, and it's gone.
My goodness.
We're sitting here bagging on IHOP. Sorry, IHOP, if you want to advertise on the KSL Sports.
Oh, listen, I'll talk up, say Rudy Tooty Fresh and Fruity tomorrow. I'll do it in 5 minutes if they become sponsors.
The
Let's
IHOP
go.
Where I live is now an original pancake house.
It's no longer with us.
Right.
Oh, they just keep the pancake theme going?
They just, the new place came in, took over.
All right. Joining us right now, collegefootballnews.com, he is Pete Fiutak. Pete, what's going on, man?
There will be no IHOP slander during my segment. Are we clear on this? Are we good?
I got it out of my system. Sorry.
There will be no IHOP slander. Yeah, they changed. You're right, though. They did try to do a little marketing thing once. I can't remember what they did. It wasn't – they changed their name. It was like the International House of Chicken or something. They did something.
Oh, that's right. That was for burgers. It was for IHOB.
Yeah,
they became IHOB, yes.
Exactly. And everyone got all mad. Well, that was a college. It was right downstairs from the girlfriend college dorm. And I used to, when I was trying to eat healthy at times, I would get, I'll get the egg white omelet with this. Little did I know, like 15 years later, that basically the egg white omelet was about 4,000 calories, full of various oils and stuff. And like, wow, this is great. I'm eating healthy protein, and that's why I'm getting fatter. This is not good. But that got me through college.
Little did you know, you slandered IHOP yourself during your own segment where you said you wouldn't slander them. Here we are. No, it got me.
With love, though. It was
listen, it got me through some late nights too in college. So there you go. Pete, let's jump into whatever it is that we found out today about the new college football playoff format. We had heard tale of a 5+7, but what exactly is the college football playoff going to be look like this first round, this first go at it, and how many SEC and Big Ten teams are we going to see?
All right, if we can freeze it right here, we're good. They did it right. I hate everything. I despise all changes because they always screw it up in sports, and they make things like all-star games bad, and regular seasons too long, and all that. The college football playoff people got this one right, where they kept it. I keep trying to say, I'm not trying to be Johnny cheerleader here, but what they did is they just made the college football regular season just that much more massive. And I don't think people who do what I do are quite grasping yet, because now you can play your way in. Now, if you win your Power 4 conference championship, you're going to the college football playoff. Doesn't mean you're going to have, the two, some Cinderella team out there, because with no divisions, you're still going to get Ohio State versus, Michigan for the Big Ten championship. But we're still going to be in mid-November. And there's going to be one of those days where, if Kentucky wins this game or, something like that, and look at the new Big 12. Give me we've done this before. Give me the superpower team you're really freaked out about in the Big 12. There isn't one, which is why, Utah is probably one of the favorites right now. Arizona is one of the favorites. Oklahoma State. One of those teams is going to get in the college football playoff. So it's just going to make the regular season that much bigger, because now it's not just up to a panel of judges to come up with 4 teams. So at the moment, the top 5 ranked conference champions get in, and then 7 at large. It's fine. That means you give, you throw a little cookie to the group of 5 program champion, and they get their say in there. And then you get other teams, who like an FSU of last year, who might get their moments to get in the playoff and do what they can do. It's just going to make December that much bigger. And all they did was originally it was going to be 6 by 6. Because that's when the Pac-12 was alive, And they wanted to give it so, okay, all the Power 5 champs are going to get in. We'll give one other team a shot from the group of 5. Well, now there's no Pac-12. They made it to 5 because the last thing we want is to have 2 group of 5 conference champions in, because all those conferences now are far weaker after expansion.
No doubt. Aren't the big winners here, though, the Big Ten and the SEC? Because they're going to get, probably 7 of the 12 bids, and depending on how good Notre Dame is?
Not as much as you'd think, because if you go over the recent history, the 10 years of the college football playoff, you have to have a certain record, because the college football playoff committee, for all its flaws and faults, they kind of fell backwards into getting this sort of right, where they don't always just fall for the shiny objects, but you do have to have a certain record. And you can't, in the college football playoff era, the last 10 years, you're not getting in if you have 4 losses. Like, no one came close to getting into the top 11, which is what you're going to have to be, essentially, because that 12 team's probably going to get knocked out by, Liberty or whatever. MAC team goes 13-0 or whatever. So you've got to finish in the top 11, which means 10-2 gets you close. 9-3 gets you, gives you in the discussion. But anything worse than that, no. So what we all forget is, remember 2020, when it was all SEC versus SEC, all Big Ten versus Big Ten. It was something crazy. I think only 4 or 5 SEC teams had a winning record. Because now you're playing SEC on SEC, which means Kentucky's and the Mississippi States, they have losing records. They're not going to get there. So while it seems like they might have more, because you are going to have the power teams in those conferences, I don't think they're going to completely dominate like everyone thinks they will.
Pete, one thing that I saw that you tweeted out was what the 2020 playoff with this current setup would have been, which is phenomenal because it was the COVID year and anything was possible, but it would have been number 5 Notre Dame hosting Coastal Carolina, Texas A&M hosting Indiana, Florida versus Iowa State, Cincinnati, number 8 Cincinnati hosting number 9 Georgia, and the Pac-12 has no team, of course, because of the COVID year. I mean, we can't ask for something like that, obviously, every year. But
we could dream. And Indiana was there, and Northwestern was right on the cusp.
Right.
So you want to talk about the craziest of crazy years? You would have had every possible outlier, and just 3 years later, none of those teams were any good who got in, except for obviously the Georgias and Alabamas and Ohio States. But yeah, that would have been a lot of fun.
Well, and I was going to say too that some of the things that's ended up happening, at least, is that this college football playoff over the last couple of years hasn't featured an Alabama champion for quite some time. You didn't have in the championship game anywhere an SEC team. You did have a Michigan team. Where does the Pac-12 live now? I mean, obviously those two teams. How is it that you could make a path for Wazoo or for Oregon State going forward into the newest version of the college football playoff?
The only way this works is if they just admit what they are and they don't schedule tough teams. Because, again, Washington State or Oregon State's not getting in at 8-4. At 10-2, they would hang around there. Look, Liberty would have been close to the top 12 last year, except they didn't play anybody, all that great. They didn't play a Power 5 team. So if Washington State and Oregon State just schedule 2 Power 4-ish teams and then beat up on everyone else, then yeah, they might be there. But would they actually be? Would you actually say, okay, really, those are one of the top 12 teams in the country? Mm-hmm. No. But where you talked about the Big Ten and the SEC. And it's really the Big Ten. I mean, the SEC, everyone's going to be taking treasure baths and making $80 million a year and stuff. The Big Ten teams are going to be making like $100 million plus. I mean, you want to hear complaining? Just wait till the Alabamas of the world figure out what Purdue's going to be making, and there's going to be a whole new ballgame when it comes to that. And what you're kind of asking is, how do we get the Pac-12 back? And the problem now is literally, we've said this before, Justin Herbert's going to make more this year than the entire Mountain West combined from their media deal. I mean, they just don't make enough money. You just don't have enough out there. Nebraska's going to make more than the entire MAC combined. I mean, the disparity in money is just going to be just so ridiculously off the charts. So unless you could somehow match them up with the Mountain West and make them more attractive, I don't know what you do, because who else out there is attractive? I mean, Tulane, Memphis. I mean, this is why I say that you kind of had to do, going back to the original thought, why you had to go to 5x7 instead of 6x6. The group of 5 conferences have been just gutted. Outside of the Mountain West has been able to stay pretty much intact, but the American Athletic Conference is just a ghost compared to what it used to be. Forgetting Conference USA and the MAC, it's going to be a hard thing for them to figure out.
Pete, like you, I think the 5-7 model's awesome. I also, like you, fear that someone's going to find a way to screw this up. Could it be the TV negotiations coming up? Could the new TV negotiations for the CFP throw a wrench in all of this and somehow ruin what we have now, which is going to be amazing?
Dead on it, and that's where the concern about the Big Ten and the Pac-12, Big Ten and the SEC are going to kick in, because if they get their way and they say, you know what, this really should be just the top 12 teams. Forget the model, forget the automatic play-in. They should just be the top 12 teams. Then you kill it, because the problem right now is everyone goes into the season saying we got a puncher's chance. Again, with no divisions, you're not going to get that quirky Big Ten West Northwestern year, or something like that, where you get this outlier team getting in and getting a shot. But you are going to have those years. Like, look, last year Louisville, if they had beaten Florida State in the new model, Louisville's in the college football playoff. You're going to have those moments, especially in the Big 12, even more than anybody else, because you are going to have that year when Kansas or Iowa State is going to get to 9-3 and get there, and they get to the conference championship. And if they beat Utah, then they get to go to the college football. So it's just going to make it that much bigger and better. And the only way you kill that is by saying, you know what, we're going to put this right back in the hands of the judges here. And we're going to have these people who kind of watch college football, but not really, because these are like real people with jobs and lives, and they're important. So they don't really pay attention until they have to. We're going to have them decide who the top 12 teams are. And then it's just, at that point, it's what's the point? Why are we playing college football if you don't go into the season thinking you have a chance? And that's the problem. Like right now, as we're talking on February 20th, we actually know that about 75 teams are already eliminated from the college football playoff. You just kind of know how that is, and if you have a system like that.
College Football News is where you can find his byline. He is, of course, the publisher there. collegefootballnews.com is where you can find it all. Pete Fiutak, awesome to have you on the program as usual, and we'll chat with you again later.
And Rudy Tootie's Fresh and Fruity, no dog. You're going to be thinking about this tonight, and you're going to pound about 4,000 calories. Of
That's
Rudy
right.
Tootie.
You know what? And if you had Rudy Tootie Fresh and Fruity getting mentioned on a radio show in the next decade,
they owe you money. They owe you money for the sponsorship.
That's exactly
you
right.
Sold IHOP right now.
I told you I'd be their biggest dude if they became advertisers right now. Let's go. All right, Pete, we appreciate it. We'll take the break. Stay with us. 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.